everyone. We'll just get started with the session now. Thank you so much for joining us today for this session, which is Experiences of Studying a Master's Programme. And now get started with the session. My name is Kate and I'm part of the Alumni Relations team at the university, along with my colleague Enchi, who will be keeping an eye on the chat for us today. And we're also joined by our alumni panel, who I'll introduce in a moment. But first, just wanted to say a warm welcome to the university, and we really hope that you enjoy your student journey with us, because you'll be joining a global community at Edinburgh made up of fellow students, staff, and also a network of over 300,000 alumni across the world, which you'll become a part of when you graduate. So I am delighted that 4 of our alumni can join us this evening to share some of their experiences of studying at Edinburgh. So a big hello to Melissa, Michelino, Amanda and Kendra. Thank you for joining us this evening. Can I first ask each of our panelists just to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from, what you studied and why, and a little bit about what you went on to do next. So Melissa, would you like to go first?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I'm Melissa Fernandez from Medellin, Colombia. I finished 2018 a master's in marketing and business analysis. What else did I have to say? Sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Michelino, would you like to go next?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelino. So I'm originally from Indonesia, but now I live and stay in Dublin. I work with Google as a data scientist. I did my postgraduate with University of Edinburgh back in 2016, 2017, and I did my master in statistics with data science.
Thank you, Michelino. That's great. And Amanda, would you mind going next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Amanda. I did MSc in history, which I graduated with in 2018. I did the online MSc. Since then, I have continued to work in further education. I'm a senior lecturer in further education, but I'm also a PhD student at the University of Leeds and a widening tutor also at the University of Leeds. So that's what I've gone on to do.
Lovely, thank you, Amanda. And Kendra, would you like to go next?
Yes, hi, my name is Kendra and I got my MSc in philosophy I graduated in 2019 and I went back to Canada after that, but I recently came back to the UK to start my PhD in philosophy at the University of York, and I am also teaching while I do that.
That's great. Thank you so much all for joining us. It's really great to have you here. So we'll move on to questions. So my first question for the panel is, were you a part of any communities while you were at Edinburgh? Did you take part in any societies, academic groups or sports clubs at all? Feel free just to jump in if anyone would like to answer.
I can start. So during my master, I joined this a society. I think it's called the International Potluck Society. So basically, it's a society that I think it's a good way for you to meet up kind of an international student. So everyone's gonna come. You're gonna meet up usually in the student accommodation, or there's gonna be like a big space, and everyone's gonna bring their own dish, especially like a special food from their home country. So there's gonna be like an Indian student bring amazing chicken tikka masala. There's gonna be Chinese student bring like amazing dumpling. There's gonna be Italian friend who's bring like a great pizza. So I personally really like this society because you're gonna get like free food. You're gonna make new friends, especially international friends. It's always interesting to see people from different background, different experience. And lastly, it's just like fun and to have like food and chat, because I found some society can be quite like heavy. For example, the political one, or there's going to be like a debate. I found it's bit give me like more stress and pressure. Why this kind of society is pretty nice, right? I found my assignment and homework is already quite stressed. So by joining this kind of society is kind of like a stress relief. And I also do kind of hiking club. So I wasn't very active member, but I did join one trip. We went to Ben Nevis, one of the highest mountain in Scotland. So it was beautiful.
That sounds really great. Yeah, there are so many different societies and clubs that you can join while you're at Edinburgh, and there's something for everyone. Question, which is in relation to personal tutors. So, what was the relationship like with your personal tutor or supervisor on your course, or any academic staff in general?
Well, I had a really good relationship with my supervisor. We decided early on what our scheduling would be, and we both stuck to it, and it worked really well once we figured out what we both expected of each other.
Yeah, great. Does anyone else? Yep.
Yeah, I think I would echo that. I think one of the real strengths of Edinburgh is the relationship that you form with the academic staff. My supervisor was absolutely outstanding. I think and I think especially in the context of doing a degree online, it's that kind of communication is really important. And there was a lot of experience there in supervising students remotely that I felt was really, really useful to me. So I mean, all of the academic staff were amazing, but my supervisor in particular was incredible.
Yeah, that's great to hear, especially now with a lot of teaching being done online as well. So that's really good to hear. Does anyone else want to jump in on that?
Sure. For me, I believe the relationship. I personally think my relationship with the academic staff is very close. Even I keep the relationship after I graduated like 3 years ago. My personal tutor, like Bruce Wharton, he was the head of mathematics department at the time, and we still in touch. Even I asked him like how it's going during like this lockdown. Oops. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, it's nice to keep the relationship. So even I've personally found my first job because of the help of my personal tutor. So he connects me to the career consultant of University of Edinburgh. So I was in touch with Matt Ficker. He was like the representative for like the School of Mathematics. So he connected me to another alumni. He also helped me to build my CV. He helped me to train me for an interview. And in the end, he connected me to alumni that work in a certain company. Then that's how I get my job in Google as well. So I think keep a good relationship with the academic staff is gonna helps you in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like you had a really good relationship with your personal tutor there. Melissa, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on?
Well, like we had two different tutors, at least in the business school. One that was just for like academic stuff, and I think she helped me out a lot on trying to find what was my niche, like what are the optatives I was going to take, and finding experts for my dissertation, finding the right topic, building it. And then in the dissertation, we had another one, and she was even more great because she basically guided me and helped me to build all the research and everything based on what I wanted. And that relationship grew up really naturally, really, really good, and still chat every once in a while. So.
That's great. Yeah. Kendra, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on?
Just to redeem, or like just to add on to Melissa's point, my supervisor also, and actually my whole department, they were all so incredibly helpful with like me getting into the whole PhD situation, especially with finding a supervisor. My current supervisor was actually recommended to me by someone in my department, and we set up a meeting while I was in master's, and they helped me get where I am today. So yeah, take advantage of the people in your department, like ask about future plans and whatnot, because they're more than willing to help in my experience.
great, thank you. I've also noticed that there's quite a few people that have just joined us. So just to let you know that we will have a little Q&A at the end after the session. So if you have any questions, then we'll ask you to pop those into the chat. So my next question for the panel is, what would you say your biggest concern or worry was before you started, and how did you overcome it? I know that's quite a difficult one, but if anyone wants to jump in with an answer.
Well, I actually wrote an article with this with a couple of other grad students when I finished. I wasn't expecting this, but I dealt with it. A lot of people in my department dealt with something called imposter syndrome, which I was not expecting, but I really experienced in my first semester. And I found out by talking to people that I wasn't the only one, and that really helps. So if you are feeling something like you don't belong, like I was, or like you just don't feel like you can complete the course, talk to someone as soon as possible, and it just makes life so much easier.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you, Kendra. Would anyone else like to jump in and answer?
I think for me it was, sorry, do you want to go?
You go. It's okay.
Okay. I think for me it was a question of how I was most concerned about juggling full-time work and part-time study. I don't know how many people here are part-timers, but that was my biggest concern, and I think I overcame it really by finding my own working rhythm, and not worrying too much about what other people were doing. I mean, the nature of the online course is that you have people who are have a great deal of time, and then you have people who have no time at all, and I think it's about finding your own kind of work pattern and not worrying too much about what other people are doing. Do what works for you, I think, would probably be my advice on that one.
Yeah, really great advice. Thank you, Amanda. Michaelino, sorry, did you also have something you wanted to add in there?
Yeah, sure. Before actually I joined, like before I decide and move to, because I'm originally from Indonesia, then I moved to Edinburgh. One of like my concern is about like the financial. So I found like living in Scotland is quite expensive, especially if you're like an international student. So I personally believe you need to make sure to calculate like all your expenditure, make sure you put like a really good management on your budgets. So for instance, in my case, I picked like a student accommodation that's very close to where I study in what is called the King's Building, yeah, in King's Building. So I picked like in a Wasteman Road. So first I save like a lot of money on transportation. I can walk to schools, and also it's very, if sometimes I have like a class, it's School of Informatics, I can take like the bus shuttle. So it's a good. Then for the utility, I don't really need to care about the utility, because in student accommodation you can turn the heater on because the it's already included. So I think, yeah, have like some management in your finance is very important. And if you're a new student, I think learn how to cook is very important. So if you don't have that skill, like really learn from your flatmate. Have like a good cooking skill is really important in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Michaelino. And Melissa, was there anything else that you'd like to add there?
Well, like when I moved here so far from my house, I was going through a big family loss, and I thought it was gonna be very hard to cope, and it got hard at some point during like the first semester. And there's moments that you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? I cannot do this anymore. I need to go back home. I cannot go on. But there's counsel help the university provides for free. There's people who just going through the same and just like talking with everyone and like being very aware that you're not the only one going through the same thing. And like we're all gonna go through a dark period, even when, especially in November, that it's very dark in Edinburgh and there's no sun, and it makes you go sadder every day. But it's like you're already here. You just make it work, trying to find your space and your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Melissa. That's really great. So my next question is quite similar to the previous question, but more to do with while you were at university. So what did you find was your biggest challenge? So either academically or otherwise, and how did you overcome that? Feel free to go ahead and answer, anyone.
I can answer. I think like
Yeah,
the
go.
hardest part at the beginning is organizing your time. Like you think you have a lot of time and then you're gonna make it work, but then everything hits you and it's not that much. And you it's basically organizing yourself, organizing when are you gonna cook, when are you gonna eat, what times are you gonna be in university, what are you studying today, how to make it work, and making the time the most. Especially when you get to revision and you have 1 month to prepare for everything, and it's never enough. So it's a lot of organizing and making yourself accountable for everything.
Thank you. Yeah, Melissa, that's definitely true. Anyone else like to add anything?
For me, academically, my biggest challenge is because I study kind of a data science, but originally my background is kind of pure mathematics. That's why when I come to the course, there's going to be like some course like very theoretical in mathematics, which is it's fine, but there's going to be like some course that very heavy on programming. So it can be kind of like challenging for me because I found it is quite difficult. So my solution at the time trying to create like a study group, ask your friends, make the assignment together, try to learn from your friends who's like really good in programming, and try just to exchange your knowledge. It's very useful if you have like a good friends who want to motivate you and support you in your study. So yeah, like have like a good study group is going to help.
Thanks very much. Yeah, great advice. Anyone else would like to jump into that?
I think for me, the biggest, well, I know the biggest thing for me was trying to find a good PhD program while I was trying to work at my courses and get my thesis in order. It just felt like I was juggling so much because I had no idea originally like how to even get started with PhD, like how to find a supervisor or like write a research proposal. And it just honestly it just came with time. Like I asked so many people help, and it just over time it just sort of fell into place. Like I learned slowly. And I I guess the advice I would give on that is be patient and do things like break things down into steps and do them in steps. Don't do big chunks like I tried to do all at once if you are looking to go into especially competitive PhD programs.
Thanks, Kendra. That's really great advice. And Melissa, or sorry, Amanda, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. I mean, I guess that, like I said, the issue for me was really managing a full-time job and part-time study. But I think I found the technology side of it quite challenging initially because obviously I had never done online learning before. My BA and my first master's degree were face-to-face, and so online learning was new to me. And I think it probably will be new to most people who are, whether you're doing I think, with so much stuff being online now. And I think you overcome it by just kind of just really engaging with it. I think the best piece of advice I can give any student who's dealing with online learning, and I speak as both a teacher and a student, is turn your camera on. Because it makes it feel much more like a face-to-face teaching situation. If you're faced with a lot of people who don't have their cameras on and don't have their mics on, it can feel a bit like talking to a wall, and that's kind of unusual and a little bit weird when you're used to being in a room with people. So although it can feel a little bit, certainly at first it can feel quite, you can feel quite exposed when you're sitting there with your camera on for the first time. it is worth actually kind of trying to break through that pain barrier, because I think you'll get so much more out of it if you can feel brave enough to show yourself to your peers. Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, that's really great advice. You know, with so many changes now to the way that we're engaging. So yeah, really great. Thank you. And so finally, my last question to the panel is, drawing on your own time at Edinburgh, if you had one inspirational piece of advice or a memory that you'd like to share with the new students, what would that be?
You will get through it. I can't name how many times I was like, what have I done? Why am I doing this? Like, I shouldn't have come here. And it got to the point around spring where I started to realize, okay, like I kind of got into a rhythm. So in those first couple of months, it may feel like it's overwhelming. It will feel like there's so much to do and there's so limited time to do it. But it is you do develop like a schedule and a system, and you just get used to it. But but you get used to it in like a good way. You actually start to enjoy it. So it will get better. It will, I promise you.
Thank you, Kendra. And anyone else?
I have a quote that I hold very dear, and it's, you didn't get this far just to get this far. And it's echoing what Kendra just said, like, you have no idea the position you're holding right now. Like, there's so many people wanting to be there. You made your effort, you're in the university, you got your spot in the masters. And that means that you're capable of keep going and you're capable of getting further than this. I mean, you already made it this far. Just keep going.
Thank you, Melissa. That's a really good quote and is so true. Thank you. Anyone else?
For me, it's the sweet memories. I think university life is really, really great. It's amazing. I think you should cherish it, like enjoy it. I know assignment and study and also doing revision for your exam is important. So as Melissa mentioned, I think have a good time management is very important. So you focus, let's say 80% of your time doing this kind of study, but don't forget this university life, especially if you are from international, or let's say you are not from Edinburgh, like take this 20% to meet up friends, to travel, to go like somewhere. I found Edinburgh is very beautiful. You can go to Meadows in summer, it's amazing. You can go to Arthur Seat, you go to Carlton Hill. You can do a lot of stuff. I even joined like several clubs. Sometimes they have this kind of trial. You can just join. For example, there's going to be a tennis club. There's going to be like indoor climbing. The one is my favorite, and I think everybody should do it, is the Celtic dance. It's the Scotland traditional dance. I love Celtic. It's fun. I think it's a good experience that everybody should try.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's great. And finally, Amanda, did you have anything else you wanted to add on?
I'm not really. I mean, I'm not much good at motivational quotes, I'm afraid. But I would say make the most of Edinburgh. I think the things that are available to you are second to none, really. And I think, especially at this time where everything's so up in the air and everything is different, you know, you're at a university that has so much experience of delivering stuff remotely and digitally, that hopefully I'm sure it will be seamless and wonderful regardless of the situation with the pandemic. So yeah, make the most of Edinburgh, I'd say.
Thanks so much. And thank you. Any tips or key things for studying fully online?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Tony Cameron. that would be my biggest advice. Of Tony Cameron in the live seminars. I think you just get so much more out of it if you do that. make the most of the resources that are available online. I mean, I think one of the kind of side effects of the current awful situation we're in is that a lot of things have gone online that weren't previously online. Find a work schedule that works for you, and don't worry too much about other people, because you will find. I mean, obviously I don't know whether you're working alongside this or not, but on online courses you tend to find that people either have loads and loads of time because they're retired and they're doing the course to enrich their lives that way, or they're working and they're doing it alongside a job, and so you have some people who are very, very time rich and some people who are very, very time poor. So don't worry too much about what other people are doing. Get to know the people on your course as well. I don't know what they're very, very experienced at community building, online community building. So get to know people on your course, and so you don't feel like you're alone as well, because I think that kind of informal learning is quite important. And I think that's all I got. You're welcome.
We have a question here for a student from a non-English speaking country. How do you learn and adapt to the English learning environment? I find the first few weeks are quite difficult. Would anyone like to jump in?
In my scenario, it was mostly trying to force myself and do everything on English, like just TV on English, just music on English, try to get out and get people's accents. That's usually what gets you harder because you're not used to the Scottish accent, for example. So it's and just like try to write everything on English. I know you're trying to think in your own language and translate in your mind, but trying to force yourself to do everything in English, like post-it notes in English, you write your notes in English. That's like the only way I could do it. And don't be afraid of asking, like, could you repeat yourself? People here are way nicer than you think, and they're really, really happy to explain again or to say it again, because they know that not everyone understands their accent. So don't be afraid of asking.
Thank you, Melissa. That's great advice. Yeah, asking questions is really important, definitely. Any more questions? Just feel free to pop them in. Okay. So how often does a student usually meet with their tutor, and who initiates the meetings? So I think that's the first part of the question there.
Well, what's average depends on like what you feel like you need, at least in my experience. Me and my supervisor, we personally met twice a month, and that's a little bit more than average, I learned in my department, but for me it felt totally necessary because I was doing so much writing and I needed the feedback fast. So it honestly depends on how much work you're doing, what's comfortable for you. It works so well for me that I'm doing it again in PhD, so once you find what works for you, it's like stick with it.
Do you think making friends with your peers is essential for your success, especially now when online learning makes this more difficult?
Yes. Like I'm in a team that I met them. I'm from since May. We never met each other, but you realize since you're in lockdown or since you're most of the time in your house, this is the few human interactions you get. So building that community it's online, it's really important. And the other thing is like you might feel down and you might feel lonely, and having people around you going through the same and having people around you that might understand you, it's really helpful. So yeah, make friends if you can.
Thank you, Melissa. So Amanda, you had your microphone on there. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I would just echo that really. I think it's essential for your success, probably not. Essential for your well-being, almost certainly. I think you'll feel much more part of a community if you can make friends with your peers. like I said before, the informal part of learning is kind of important. You know, the conversations you have casually about the stuff that you're studying will help you to develop your understanding better. So yeah, I think it's really important. But it's more important for your well-being, I think, more than necessarily your success. You can probably do perfectly well without making friends with your peers, but I think you'll be a happier person, you know, if you do.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, great advice. We have another question in the chat as well, which is guilt a good drive? Feeling guilty when you think you're not studying as much as you're supposed to be. Has anyone else felt like this before?
I don't think it's a good drive, to be honest. Thank you, Faisanlulesi, for the question. I have a friends who always come to the library, let's say like 7 in the morning. They're going to stay until like very long time, just in the sake of have like, oh, I've been studying so long, then, you know, so it feel good. I think studying is about quality rather than quantity. So you can just, you know, like spend 2 hours studying, but very focused, doesn't have your phone, doesn't browsing, doesn't do Netflix, just focusing on your study. I found it like very, very helpful, rather than you study like, you know, 5 hours or like 6 hours a day, but you use Instagram, you take a picture, you talk to your friends. I don't think it's very, very good to do it. So yeah, it's better you just like focus in quality.
Yeah, definitely important to get that balance. And does have any other questions after the session? Anything sort of alumni related? You maybe want to get in touch, be connected with alumni. You can email us as well. Our email is alumni@ed.ac.uk. And if you have any questions relating specifically to the student experience, you can also email the student induction team. So their email is just up on the screen now, which is induction@ed.ac.uk. Perfect. And my colleague Angie's also just popped those into the chat for you as well. You can also connect with the alumni community during and after your studies on Platform One. So you may have already heard of Platform One. It's the university's online meeting place, and you'll find your fellow students and alumni who are offering advice and support and useful tips to each other. So they've all been where you are now, and they can offer some friendly and informal support as you get started and settle in at Edinburgh. So yeah, Angie's just popped in the link to Platform One there. So a couple of minutes left. If anyone has anything else they'd like to ask, please feel free to put it in the chat. But if not, I'd just like to thank our alumni panel for joining us, and thank you all for coming along tonight as well to ask some great questions. It's been really, really nice to have you. And we wish you the best of luck in your studies as well. And we hope you enjoy your time here at Edinburgh. So thank you so much for joining us.